Hello, and welcome to another video from 3.5 Archive. Today, we're going to be doing our 68th D&D 3.5 Prestige class review, and we're going to be looking at the Leviathan Hunter from the Stormwrack supplement. Leviathan Hunters live for the thrill of the chase, hunting down large beasts and killing them so that they can collect trophies from them and add to their renown as a monster slayer. Leviathan Hunters, while they're in this book, Stormwrack, which is sort of set around adventures at sea and the like, and it's suggested that the Darfellans, which are one of the seafaring races described in the book, make for great Leviathan Hunters. There's nothing in particular that requires you to be a seafaring character to play this class. This can be any sort of monster-slaying character, although, as we'll see, it is focused on a rather narrow class of monsters. So Leviathan Hunters mostly start out as Rangers or Barbarians. Most are human. Darfellans are another race that are described here that often will become Leviathan Hunters, as well as Orcs. These are thrill-seeking characters. They really live for the thrill of the hunt and to feed their ego when they kill a large beast. And it's also said in here that some druids strongly dislike Leviathan Hunters because they seem to violate the natural order by killing these titanic creatures for fun. So what does it take to be a Leviathan Hunter? Well, you're going to need a +5 base attack bonus. You're going to need Iron Will and Track for feats, 4 ranks in Knowledge Nature, and you're going to need favorite enemy aberrations, animals, dragons, or magical beasts. So you're going to need at least one of those to get into the Leviathan Hunter class. So you're going to have to take at least one level of Ranger, and you're likely going to be either a fully classed ranger or a multi-classed fighter ranger, or some other combination when you get into this prestige class. There are all sorts of ways that you could enter it. The Iron Will requirement, it's not the worst feat you could take, but it certainly isn't the best. We'll say that the prestige class has moderately restrictive requirements, although really for a ranger coming into it, it's really just the one feat that you need to get into this prestige class. So what do you get from the Leviathan Hunter? Well, you get full base attack bonus, a good fortitude save, a d10 hit die, and 4+ intelligence modifier skill points per level. So you're pretty much like a fighter with a few more skill points, and that's good. You're going to need the full base attack bonus for taking on large monsters. It says that some of them, take on these giant creatures by themselves, but obviously you're going to be part of a party doing it. But even so, you're going to need to serve as a frontline fighter for your party, even so. So you're going to need that full base attack bonus. And as for features, you are going to get, at level 1, Hunter's Insight. This is going to give you an insight bonus equal to your class level +5 on all knowledge checks made to identify an aberration, animal, dragon, or magical beast, or its special powers or vulnerabilities. And you get the same bonus on survival checks to track such creatures. Now, the classic combination of Collector of Stories with the Knowledge Devotion feat, which many Dungeon Masters don't allow to function. They say that the knowledge check is not specifically to identify vulnerabilities, it's a special check for the Knowledge Devotion feat, so it doesn't apply. If your Dungeon Master rules that way, then he's probably going to rule the same way on Hunter's Insight. However, if your Dungeon Master gives you the favorable ruling, then this is going to be a great option. You're going to be able to get really high results on your knowledge checks to identify the weaknesses of a monster for the purposes of Knowledge Devotion, and you can easily get into the 30s or higher and get a +4 to hit and damage if you are done with this prestige class and you're around character level 10. This is a 5-level prestige class, so it's pretty short. The features come pretty quickly. Also at level 1, you're going to gain the Trophy ability. This lets you wear a piece of an enemy that you've slain, if it's an aberration, animal, dragon, or magical beast, and it's huge or larger. After you kill it, you can take a body part as a trophy. You must have participated in the fight, dealt some damage, and you have to harvest a trophy within 1 minute of the creature's death. You then have to spend 24 hours and 500 gold pieces to preserve it, and then when it's worn, you get a +2 competence bonus to armor class and saves against all creatures of that type. And at 5th level, the bonus will increase to +4 for your AC and saving throws. And it's only going to work for that one specific type of creature. So Red Dragon Trophy will only work against red dragons. A Bullet Trophy will only work against bullets, and so on and so forth. And you can create as many trophies as you want, but you can only benefit from the effects of 1 per class level at a time. So you're going to need to pick 5 types of creature that you're going to encounter a lot, that you're going to want to have these trophies on for. Now this is going to require either some cooperation on the part of the Dungeon Master or some careful planning on your part as for what you run into. I mean, there are hundreds, if not thousands of monsters in D&D 3.5, and while a lot less of them are aberrations and animals or dragons or magical beasts, that just makes this less likely to come up. It's really hard for you to control the flow of encounters that you run into in your game. In fact, you usually can't. And so as a result, this ability, while cool, is very situational. And for a +2 bonus on AC and saves, well, that's good, and that can save your life, and it being +4 eventually is also great. But it's just a very situational ability, just like Favorite Enemy is in general. With a cooperative Dungeon Master who wants to enable this prestige class, then this is a good ability. It's not amazing, but it is good. For an uncooperative or uncaring Dungeon Master, this ability could just fall flat 90% of the time. You might run into one type of creature from, Monster Manual 3 or 4 one time in one dungeon, get a trophy from it, and then never run into it again, and then you've wasted 500 gold pieces. It's unfortunate because this is a cool ability, and for a character that is focused on hunting one specific type of monster, then this can be pretty decent. But again, it will never be truly excellent. It will only ever be a good ability in the right situation. At level 2, you're going to get Fell the Leviathan. You're going to deal an extra 1d6 damage with any melee attack made against an aberration animal, dragon, or magical beast of huge or greater size. In other words, a Leviathan. This is pretty good. It doesn't specify that it's precision damage, although it kind of implies that it is. That said, you don't need to worry about most of these monsters being immune to precision damage anyway, and an extra d6 will be nice. It would be really nice if this applied to range attacks, because you usually don't want to get too close to these creatures. Not to mention that the example character given here is a Darfelon that uses a harpoon, which is the, classic whale slaying or sea monster slaying weapon, and it'd be nice if you could, throw it or shoot it, or, shoot arrows or something like that to, fell the Leviathan. But apparently not. Apparently this is limited to melee attacks. It's still pretty good, and it does improve to 2d6 damage at level 4. At level 3, you're going to get Clever Wrestling as a bonus feat. You don't need to meet the prerequisites. And this is going to give you a bonus based on size of +2, +4, +6, or +8, depending if the creature grappling you is large, huge, gargantuan, or colossal. And it gives you that bonus to escape from a grapple from that creature. And this is really good because improved grab can be very annoying. It can actually ruin the battle for you. It can take you out of the fight. You can be effectively useless. You might have a light weapon to attack with at -4, but you're not going to be able to power attack with it and do any real damage. All you can do is kind of slash away at a -4 penalty and hope that you contribute something to the fight while you're working as the monster's chew toy. Having played the chew toy character myself, I can promise you it's not as fun as it sounds, and while there are some upsides to it, and while Clever Wrestling might not always be the best option to take as a feat, having it for this prestige class is an excellent midpoint option, even if it's just a bonus feat. So it does help this prestige class along in being good at fighting giant monsters. At level 4, you're going to get +2d6 damage with your Fell the Leviathan ability, and that's going to really help. I mean, that's 7 damage on average. That's, a replacement for a really good strength score, at the very least. So this is going to help you put out a lot more damage. It's a good ability. It's probably the best ability that the class has so far. And then finally, at level 5, you're going to gain immunity to fear. And this is going to mostly apply to dragons and their frightful presence, but really for any kind of creature. And it's just a flat-out immunity to fear. It doesn't just apply to the class of creatures that you specialize fighting. So this means that undead creatures with fear abilities you're going to be immune to. And that's a huge buff to your character. Because one of the few things that can really ruin your day at higher levels, if it's not a hit die based limitation, is a fear effect. It can make you turn tail and run. It can make you shaken. There's potential for fear stacking from different sources. That's a core component of a lot of builds in D&D 3.5. So if your Dungeon Master decides to employ those against you for some reason, well, you're going to be completely immune to them. Morale is often said to win the day, and being immune to fear is pretty great. Although we shouldn't talk up this feature too much, considering that you do have to go through 5 levels to get it, but the other features are pretty nice. You're also going to get a +4 bonus from your trophy ability. That's less important because, again, the trophy is very situational. It's nice when it does come up, but oftentimes it won't. So what should we think of the Leviathan Hunter? This is a pretty good prestige class focused on fighting large creatures. If you know that you're going to be fighting a lot of dragons or aberrations or magical beasts or animals or all three, then this might be worth taking. And if you run into the same kind of creature over and over again, then it might be worth taking levels in this as well. What do you miss out on? Well, you're going to miss out on, if you continued advancing as a ranger, another bonus to favored enemy, which would give you bonuses on damage. But that's going to probably be replaced by the Fell the Leviathan, which applies to a much larger range of creatures. And while you'll lose the skill bonuses that come with favored enemy, it's really not that big of a deal because you're usually not going to have trouble succeeding on tracking very large creatures given the huge penalty that they have to avoiding leaving tracks. So how would we change the Leviathan Hunter? Well, we should probably make the Fell the Leviathan ability apply to ranged weapons. As much as it is cool to focus the ability on the toe-to-toe combat between the Leviathan Hunter and the massive creature that he hopes to track down and slay, it makes a lot more sense that this applies to ranged abilities that give ranged characters a little bit more, ability to function with this prestige class, and it's a good way to give ranged characters some more damage potential in general, which is a hard thing in 3.5. Hunter's Insight is a great ability. Explicitly making it apply to Knowledge Devotion might be a little too much, but having something, especially how much this prestige class's lore describes how these characters will spend weeks researching their quarry before they attack it, adding some sort of automatic ability like what the Archivist has with Dark Knowledge or the Knowledge Devotion feat to give themselves a little bit of bonus to hit and damage against a monster they spent some time researching would be cool. Perhaps as even just a downtime ability you could use, in so many days in a settlement of a certain size of the library or something like that. Even just a knowledge check would be nice to give you a little bit of bonus to hit and damage against these monsters you've been studying. But as is, the prestige class is fine. I would give the Leviathan Hunter 3 stars for concept and 3 stars for execution. It sort of teeters into 2 stars or even 1 star if the campaign is not right for it. But in the correct campaign, it's at least a good option. It may not be really great, but you at least won't regret taking it if the Dungeon Master does work with you a little bit. If the Dungeon Master doesn't like your prestige class or just doesn't care for it, then it's going to fall flat. But if you're playing in a campaign where you have a lot of freedom to decide where you go and what you do, then the Leviathan Hunter is excellent. And again, a Leviathan Hunter can be a great NPC to come along, give the characters a quest to help him slay some massive monster he's been hunting for years, and this prestige class can work well for that also. So that's going to be about it for this D&D 3.5 prestige class review. Please like, share, comment, subscribe, and so on. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time here on 3.5 Archive.